Just this past week, a video conference had taken place dealing with young people. The article is Youths Need Truth, Not Easy Believism. And I'll get into the essence of this article. This came at a very good time for me. I've just started teaching an apologetics class at the church where I attend to 9th and 12th graders, which is at the high school level, that's a pretty good intellectual spread. It's difficult dealing with 9th graders and 12th graders. 12th graders, of course, the amount of information they have, the conceptual changes in their ability to think at the 12th grade level is quite different from the 9th grade level. So you do have to make some adjustments, although younger kids will certainly pick up some principles. It also challenges the teacher to be a good teacher. And keeping the abstractions to a minimum, dealing with vocabulary that they can understand. But the topics need to be the same. The young people need to really get to the depths of a Christian worldview. And unfortunately, most Sunday school classes and youth programs cater to the entertainment side of youth work. And our two sons went to youth programs for a while, then they quit going, and the reason was they really weren't getting much out of it. They turned out to be simply pizza parties. The goal was to attract kids from other churches and also to keep young people in the church being interested in the youth program, and much of it revolved around food, fun, and fellowship. And very little of it centered around the intellectual side of Christianity. And since we are to love God with our mind as well as with our strength and with our spirit, you would think that youth groups would deal with it. Now, some young people, when they go to Sunday school or go to a youth group, don't want to be in an academic setting. To give you an example of this, the first day that I started teaching this class, on apologetics, I put up the Greek word apologia, which is the Greek word that's transliterated into English as apologetics. And within 5 minutes, this one young man just walked out. And just gives you some idea of he didn't want it to be like school. So there's a problem among young people as well. Now, there are those, of course, in the integrated church movement who would say we don't need Sunday school classes, and that what should take place is that parents should be teaching their children at home. And that's what we did. And that's one of the reasons why our two sons really didn't get engaged in youth work at the church, because they had gotten all this stuff at home. And that's really where this needs to take place. It isn't going to take place in the church. Church just can't do it. Can't do it one day a week for about 40 minutes. That's about all you have in a Sunday school class. Kids get in there at 10 o'clock, you're out of there by 10:40. The idea of apologetics and getting rid of easy believism really has to come from parents. It has to take place on a daily basis. It can't be an added on program. And so why am I teaching at the church? Well, because parents aren't equipped. And I do have some parents who are attending the class, and there are a lot of young people in my class who are going to Christian schools where they're going to get some apologetic training, but I don't know how much. There are different Christian schools in our area, and so I don't know what the apologetics classes are like. But this really should come from the parents. The parents need to understand this. This is the same thing that ought to take place in terms of a Bible curriculum in a Christian school. It really ought to be done at home and ought to be reinforced in the classroom. When I went to seminary, one of the you had 3 requirements, actually, well, 4 requirements in addition to your bachelor's degree that you had to have. You had to have these courses. You had to have a Western civilization course, a philosophy course, a year's worth of Greek, and a year's worth of Bible. Most people had a philosophy course or a Western Civ class, but most young people growing up aren't going to have a course in Bible. Or they're not going to have a course in Greek. So one of the things that you could do is you could opt out by taking a test, English Bible test, quiz, and you could do the same thing with Greek. Well, again, most people going to seminary, most young people going to seminary don't have the ability even to take a simple English Bible quiz to get into seminary. And so what we had to do in the summertime was to take a year's worth of Greek and a year's worth of Bible in a 10-week period. I remember getting up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, studying until about 7, going to class from 7:30 to 9:30 for Greek, taking a half hour off, and then going to Bible for 2 hours, then going home, eating lunch, taking a nap, and studying all night long, and doing this for 10 weeks in order to pass both the English Bible and Greek. That was even before I got into seminary. Those 2 courses didn't even count for any credit. This was the prerequisite. But we as Christians need to start thinking the same way about apologetics. And you need to wean your children off of, and if you haven't already started, you need to wean your children off of the Veggie Tales way of teaching the Bible. If you haven't started showing your children Veggie Tales, don't ever start. I've written a book on this, a booklet actually. It's free online if you go to American Vision. So I think it's free. It may cost you $1 or so. It's on Meaty Tales, explaining why I think this type of Bible teaching is wrong. I think it trivializes the Bible, trivializes the work of Christ, trivializes the events in the Bible. The Bible is seen as only for children. And as children outgrow these juvenile stories, they move on to something that has much more substance to it, and that is a more secular worldview. In fact, that's what some of these surveys have stated. Guests on the American Family Association broadcast, Church Dropout, Overcoming the Youth Exodus, agreed that young people were quitting the faith because of intellectual skepticism. One of the major reasons is intellectually they don't know why Christianity is true, said apologist Frank Turek, founder of crossexamine.org, because we haven't told them why it's true. We've given them this easy believism. Citing surveys by the Barna Group and Lifeway Research, Turek says that about 3 in 4 youths who are brought up in the church walk away from the church after high school. The problem exists across denominations, from Roman Catholic to Pentecostal and everything in between. Goes on to say, I think that if more churches actually taught people the truth and challenged them with the truth, they would stay engaged. But they're not staying engaged because they're feeding them cotton candy. Rejecting easy believism and entertainment, Turek called churches to ground young people in the truth, otherwise they'll search for it elsewhere. And I agree. We're feeding them cotton candy in the church, and with the fact that on average today, young people are involved in media, whether it's music, or video, television, or film, and the estimates are like 7 hours a day. And we think we're going to overcome that and give them the equipment to deal with that in a 30-minute, 40-minute Sunday school class and maybe something on Wednesday night. That just isn't going to cut it. This is something that has to be with a child every single day. And so as you teach your children how to read and how to speak and how to tie their shoes and how to do everything else, you need to impart these truths to them on a daily basis so it becomes natural for them. And so when they go out into the world, they're not hit blindsided by these types of intellectual arguments. You've dealt with those already. My 2 sons they dealt with all that stuff. They saw it. They weren't surprised by anything. And anything that they had a question about, they knew that I was able to equip them for it. And there are always answers to these things. So if you're teaching Sunday school class, you need to ramp it up a bit. You still have to keep it interesting. You may have to keep it contemporary. You have to bring in modern day examples of these things. You have to equip yourself before you can equip others. You can't teach above your own level. Which may mean you need to take some courses yourself. And so I would suggest you get my book, Thinking Straight in a Crooked World. Also get Greg Bonson's talks on apologetics. There's a video series and 2 audio series. You can get those at AmericanVision.org. Train yourself so that you are fully equipped so that you can train your children so they are not blindsided by intellectual skepticism.